Right.
And you've got
I think
me.
I begin to get the
And
idea.
if you were my daughter, you would want to prove yourself sometimes in unacceptable ways. She became a demonstrator, then she went in for piercing.
Herself or...
Herself, fortunately. I mean, she's got those unnecessary earrings on her face.
Oh, right.
I
Face
don't
jewellery.
approve.
Face jewellery.
I don't approve.
No,
Not a woman.
On the
Not a
nostrils.
woman of mid-30s.
In the nostrils, is that, Edna?
Yes, she's got one there and another one on her eyebrow. Isn't that horrible?
That always looks very painful. What about the navel? They sometimes go that far,
I haven't
I've heard.
seen her navel since I dusted it with talcum when she was a baby.
Is she a naturally shy person then, Edna?
Well, it's hard to say. I've lost touch with her, and that's a dreadful
Because
thing.
you don't like too much exposure yourself, do you?
Well, I don't, no. Just a little on stage every night. And then I sink more or less into oblivion.
But this trend towards nudity on stage and in the cinema is something you deplore, I imagine.
I do, and I've never appeared nude on stage. And I have to say, to reassure people who are thinking of taking impressionable teenagers and senior citizens to my show at the Theatre Royal in Glasgow and to the Festival Theatre in Edinburgh next week, that there is no on-stage nudity. Madge, of course, is well wrapped up, because I think if she appeared naked on stage, there'd be a riot.
Right.
Probably.
Because your friend, I know you're...
And my husband, Derek, I have to say, my late husband Norm never saw me naked.
Really?
Nor did he express the least desire to.
Well, did you turn the light out then, Edna, when you went retired at night?
Oh, yes, we did. I think that's only modest.
Do you think all couples should operate kind of in the dark, turn the light out?
I think that it is the most wholesome approach, because I think it can be very, very traumatic to see a member of the opposite sex in their birthday suit. Very.
Men are rather repulsive and horrid anyway, I suppose.
Well, even on the beach, I think they're not, I mean, I like the faces of some of my men friends. I'm thinking now of people like Bill Gates, Prince Rainier of Monaco,
Rupert Murdoch?
little Rupert was a chum of mine, though we've never had an intimate relationship. I have too much respect for his wife. And I don't think he's suggested it.
And was Norm an upstanding member of the community? I mean, did you learn a lot?
No, he was not upstanding.
He enjoyed bad health for years, Norman, didn't he?
Yes, he did, and he wasn't
Sadly.
upstanding, Ellen.
Is that right?
He was mostly reclining. In fact, because of his naughty old prostate, he was hooked up to an artificial electronic prostate for most of his adult life,
Gosh.
which does the work of the prostate. I don't know if you know that.
No.
But I pioneered it in Australia, and I'm still president of the World Prostate Bank, the Friends of the Prostate, which, as you know, is a wonderful organisation, Prostanon, which is an organisation for the friends and relations of prostate sufferers, and I'm also the founder of the World Prostate Games, which is a sort of Olympic Games for people interested in the prostate.
Well,
And I bought a large tract of land between Glasgow and Edinburgh where we're going to build Prostate World, which is a fun park and an educational one. I'm on my bandwagon a little bit here advertising, but it'll be a wonderful thing because you can take the kiddies, there'll be bouncy prostates for them to play on, and lovely water sports, all kinds of urological fun.
So this is something we should all be aware of.
I do hope that
put-
it's not too insensitive to ask whether it came as anything of a relief to you when dear Norm passed on.
That's a leading question.
I know.
darling.
I
A bit of
didn't.
an
I didn't mean to be
investigative
too
journalist.
personal. I'm sorry.
Well, of course, it's a terrible thing when your husband passes away, but in Norm's case, let's face it, Derek and Ellen, my husband was clinically dead about 5 or 6 times. And it was, it was almost an anticlimax when the doctor came in shaking his head. But he's still, in a sense, with us because, that prostate of his, and I don't go back to it anymore, is in Japan at a teaching organisation, and it's still working. It's in a beautiful glass case.
A
and
tribute
it's
to you.
working away, and students, all kinds of people go and just stare at it.
A tribute to you, Edna.
It is,
We'll have some
Derek.
music at that point. Mr. Neil Diamond is on the Robert E. Lee.
That was Neil Diamond on the Robert E. Lee. You're listening to the Jamesons on BBC Radio 2.
We're talking to Dame Edna Everage. Tell me, will you retire home to Australia? I'm told you're building a palace in Tasmania, Edna.
Well, I am. I've got homes in lots of different places, Derek. And I really find that I prefer my smaller homes. And I don't think it's right that a person like me should have those things when there are people listening who've only got one residence. It's too elitist. And I'm a megastar of the people. You know, I don't need to do these stage shows like I'm doing in Glasgow and next week in Edinburgh. Financially, it's not necessary to me, but I feel I have so much to give, Ellen. You know, I think when I was a little baby in Australia, Dame Nature stooped over my bassinet and gave me this priceless gift that I'm sharing now on your wonderful show. And it was as though there was a condition attached. Dame Nature whispered in my little bubba ear. She said, Edna, give this gift away and you will keep it. That's paradoxical, isn't it?
It is.
She said, the more you share this with people all over the world, from the stage, forget about the telly, on the stage where people can see you physically, where you can throw gladioli to them and at them, where you can dance and sing. She said, then you can keep this gift I've given you. But if you hoard it to yourself and use it for profit, I'm sorry, call me old-fashioned, said Dame Nature, but I'm going to take that gift away. And I take this seriously, and I must tell the listeners before this wonderful programme comes to an end. And please, by the way, don't operate heavy machinery while you're listening to this show, or drive. It's very, very dangerous to drive and listen to people like the Jamesons and me sharing with each other. But I was at Gatwick. Have you heard of that, Ellen?
Yes, the airport.
The airport about 2 months ago. And I'd been up here in Scotland doing a little bit of pre-publicity. You could never do enough because people need to be practically forced to go to the theatre these days. They'd rather sit at home and watch rubbish on TV, not knowing what priceless gems they're missing out on in the theatre. So I was doing the publicity and I came to Gatwick and I was going on to see a Mr. Ken Dodd, who's, I believe, a bit of a comedian.
Indeed, we had him on the show Monday night.
Oh, he's a delightful person. Needs dental work, but very nice. And I was
And a
going
good
on to Worthing,
hairdresser.
and when I was on that sort of moving stairway at Gatwick, I felt a little prod. Well, of course, I never take much notice of that because I thought, there's some spooky people in the world.
That's right.
I looked over my shoulder, and it was your husband, Ellen, little Derek.
He didn't prod you, did he, Edna?
And it was him prodding me, and then you prodded me from the other side, and we all had a bit of a hug. And as usual, Derek complained about being devoured by my tapestry.
He won't forget that in a
And
hurry.
then you asked me where I was going, and this is the kind of people that you're listening to, listeners. I said, I've got to go to Worthing and I'll get the train because I don't believe in limousines and things. And do you know what the Jamesons said? They said, we'll give you a lift. I said, it might be out of your way. They said, never mind. Wherever you're going, Dame Edna, we'll take you. And those Jamesons drove me first to their own little dwelling, which is, for security reasons, I can't exactly tell you, but it's on the sea. And it's a beautiful place, and you go in, and it looks right onto the beach. It's on the beach. It's delightful, and it's warm and snug and friendly. And I sat there, and Derek said, well, what were you going to do? Isn't it nice we've met up? And I said, well, I was going to have something to eat. He said, what do you like to eat? Remember that, Derek?
I do.
And I said, I like a bit of spaghetti. It gives me energy, because I believe Mr. Dodd goes on a bit. And I'll need my strength. And so Derek went into the kitchen. He put on a lovely pink apron with frills. He went into the kitchen. He chopped tomatoes and garlic and onions. He cooked that pasta. And I had one of the scrummiest little snacks, sitting in that sunroom, looking at the waves. And then they drove me to see Doddy. I
Dame
sat
Edna.
down, still savouring my spaghetti. And Doddy started at 7:30 and he was still on stage at 12:15.
All I can tell you is it was such a privilege to welcome you to our humble little home.
Well,
we
I'm
hadn't
sending you
ever
a
had a
plaque.
megastar there before.
I'm sending you a plaque, Ellen, which just says Dame Edna ate here.
It's like
Would you
being,
like that?
it is like being in the presence of royalty. As you said, Her Majesty has asked you if you can share the burden with her.
But
What about
please.
Princess Diana? She wants the royal family to ride on bicycles and get on buses. Do you approve of that?
No, I don't. I don't think it's realistic any more than it is for
Because you
her.
yourself go by public transport.
Well, I do. You witnessed it. You
We
are
did.
amongst
We
the
did.
few people who actually, because I was heavily disguised.
You
as I was
were,
walking
that's
along.
right.
Remember
But I
that
think it was
headscarf?
probably that same headscarf from Her Majesty the Queen.
Yes, you probably recognised it. You probably even thought it was the Queen, not me.
I'll tell you the thing that was most wonderful for us, that in fact I had just celebrated an anniversary and the house was full of gladioli. And I said to Derek how wonderful that Dame Edna should come here and we should be able to greet her with the gladioli standing tall and firm in her honour.
Well, there is a little power working in our favour, don't you think, Helen?
I think so.
And I think these are signals. They are. Because the gladiator flower, do you know, and this is an interesting fact, Derek, the gladioli was dying out in the world. It had got a rare bug. And it was a sick thing, and it was in danger within 10 years of disappearing off the face of the planet. I have pumped squillions into that. I don't put all my money into the prostate, though I've pumped a lot into that. But I put a lot into gladioli survival. And Sting, with his rainforests, he's got nowhere with that. But I've got a long way along the path of saving the gladiolus, and in gratitude I hurl them at my audience every night. And do you know those glads that I've given people in my audiences, this week in Glasgow and next week in Edinburgh, people keep. And even when they're shriveled, if you sellotape them to a part of your body that needs assistance, you will be amazed at the results.
Dame Edna, could I just ask, so that I know you're in the middle of a world tour, and in fact this year you have already been in America, Switzerland,
Yes,
south of
yes.
France, you're now here in Scotland, you're going all over England, just so that we can bask a little in the glamour of your life. Where will you be at Christmas? What will you be doing
I'm
this
going to
Christmas?
Melbourne, which is my hometown. You see, December is the 40th anniversary of my first appearance on any stage. And I appeared first a nervous housewife, not very well dressed,
I can't believe it.
and not even shaved my legs. I still had tufts.
Oh.
And I still dyed my hair. As you know, I'm a naturally mauve woman. I'm in the Guinness Book of Records as the only woman with a purple bikini line.
Oh.
And I used to dye my hair because I was shy about being mauve. And I stepped onto the stage December 1955. So this is my ruby anniversary. And I'm going, of course, would you guess my star sign?
Well, with your warm, sharing, caring, love of humanity, vision, an Aquarian?
Correct, you clever woman. I'm an Aquarian, 17th of February, a very lucky date. And I'm going back to Melbourne to just see if I can bring my family together. And my son, of course, who designs my clothes, is there. And also my other son, Brucey, and perhaps even Valmai, my delinquent daughter, might unpierce herself and join me. I have to go to the cemetery to see my late husband, and I have to buff up his obelisk. He's got a beautiful obelisk there, but it needs, occasionally, needs a bit of buffing up.
And do you have a traditional kind of Christmas dinner like we have here in little
Oh,
old
yes,
England, or do you go
turkey.
down to the beach?
Turkey and ham and lovely plum pudding, mince pies. We do it exactly as you do.
And I'd love
if it's
to see
very
the kind
hot,
of
we'd eat
gifts.
it on the beach.
I suppose you're extremely generous in the gifts you give to family and friends.
Well, no, I'm not, because I don't want
Oh.
to spoil them.
Right.
I don't want them thinking of me as Lady Bountiful. I don't want them looking to me for what I give them. I want to be adored as myself.
That's not
So
hard.
I give them very, very little. A bit of bath salts, some talcum, that sort of thing.
Right.
A little hanky. Something very humble and modest.
Just to spend time with you, I suppose that is their real
And
gift.
I will give them, of course, in due course, and I'll give all of my friends free passes to Prostate World.
When it's open, yes. Can we attend the grand opening?
You may, darling.
Perhaps with a member of the royal family?
You certainly. I'd be honoured if the Jamesons came, and you can go on the wonderful roller coaster, which is a journey within the prostate itself.
A voyage of discovery.
Edna, just before you leave, I would like you to have a word with my husband, because before you came on, he was being extremely rude to me. He was saying, "Look at me when I'm talking to you," which I know is the title of your show,
what my
but
mother
he
used to
doesn't
say.
say it in the kind of caring,
You must
loving
say
way.
it warmly, Derek, because, and listeners, you have to know this, if you're concerned, perhaps even saddened, by what may seem an estrangement growing between this couple that you've come to adore on the wireless, don't believe it. I have seen them in their own little seaside home. I've seen the glances, the caresses. I've almost seen it all.
Bless you.
Not quite.
Bless you.
And I've eaten food prepared by Derek. And he's marvellous in the kitchen, isn't he?
Oh, he's lovely.
And he's probably
yes.
marvellous in all the rooms in the house.
A gem.
But wasn't the wonderful thing that you and I could sit and share and care and pass on this wonderful message that we have
The
while he
little
ran
message.
around doing all the domestic
In
chores.
my frilly apron, if you
You
please.
see, because it's sharing our experience and our strength and our hope with the possums of the world.
You're a wonderful example of passing on the message, Dame Edna. Thank you.
Lots of love and a Merry Christmas to all of our listeners. Derek, Ellen, everyone, thank you for having me at your place.
You're so humble. It has been a privilege. Dame Edna, housewife, superstar, world leader.
Be
Good
at
night.
the Theatre Royal Glasgow the rest of this week, and the Edinburgh Festival Theatre next Monday until Saturday, the 11th to the 16th of December. Dame Edna Everage, what a player.
Bye.